All right, here's the thing. Most people getting into sales and people in sales always worry about how to handle an objection. How do I think about objection? What if they say they want to talk to wife? What if they say they want to meditate on it? What if they say they want to float on it? What did I say? And guess what happens? You are literally manifesting these objections to actually happen. And what happens? You get these objections all the time. And I am a great example of this. For years, I was struggling and learning how to handle objection when then my mentor taught me how to prevent them in the first place. I have better conversations, I save time, and I make a lot more money. And in this video, I'm going to show you guys how to do that exactly. All right, without further ado, let's dive in. But before that we do that, a little bit about me. My name is Rome, like the city. And over the last 6 years, I've been in the high ticket sales space. I've done millions in sales. I've done tens of thousands of sales calls, and I've heard every single objection you can think of and imagine, and I didn't even know they existed. Now, let's dive into this video. There's 4 words I want you guys to keep in mind. Qualify hard, close easy. What does that mean? It means qualify hard, make sure your prospect is actually a good fit, find their concerns, their doubts, and handle them before you even pitch, so that what happens next? There's only 2 outcomes. You're either collecting their 16-digit credit card number, or you disqualify the prospect and save time and move on. Okay, so based on hundreds of thousands of sales calls done and 40 million in cash collected in our agency over the last decade, we have found that all objections stem from 3 things and 3 things only: lack of urgency, lack of trust, and lack of belief. And that's it. And the bug just flew in front of my laptop. I got phobia from bugs. Anyways, I'm moving on. So in this video, what we're going to be doing is I'm going to show you guys what you're probably hearing at the end of these calls and what it means, which one is stemming from, whether it's lack of urgency, lack of trust, lack of belief, how to identify them, and how to solve them. Obviously, like a pro, so that you don't get objections ever again. But first, you have to understand this core principle, guys. What people say, what these prospects are saying on these calls is almost never equal to what they mean. Now, what does that mean? It means that their guard is up, their defense is up. They don't trust you yet. And most of the time, these prospects don't even know they have a problem or don't know what their problem is. So you have to analyze their body language. You have to analyze their tonality. How do they do that? Well, it's very simple. I gave you guys an image here of what you have to do. You have to have your ears perked up like a satellite dish looking for a satellite signal, okay? And I'm gonna show you guys what to look for in a second. Next slide. Now, let's talk about the most common one. Let's talk about lack of trust. What you're probably hearing at the end, if you're struggling with building trust and building rapport, is they're probably saying, can you send me a testimonial? Can you send me an email? And by the way, that is pathetic. If they trust an email more than they trust what you say, that shows a lot. I don't know how you're sleeping at night. Another thing is, hey, do you have a guarantee? How do I know this is gonna work? These are some examples of what you're probably getting at the end. Now, how to identify lack of trust early on in the conversation? Pretty simple. 3 main things. Number 1, their defense is up. They're giving you dry responses, right? 1-word answers. They're not giving you much. That's 1. Number 2, the questions that they're asking you. I'll give you an example, a few questions. Your prospect might say, hey, how long have you been working with XYZ company? Wait, how long have you been doing this? With a skeptical tonality. That's how they know they already don't trust you. Another question you might get is like, can I just get the price? Trust problem. Number 3, they had a negative experience with a previous company, right? So you got to keep in mind they had a bad experience, so the trust level is probably pretty low, right? Now let's get into how to solve these. In terms of dry responses and the defense is up, the way that you solve this is by leading with curiosity. Leading with curiosity. Ditch your script, the script. You need to sound like a human. We all know that salespeople have there's a negative connotation about salespeople. Nobody trusts salespeople because it is in their best interest for them to go and get your money. So they will say and do whatever they need to get your money. So people's defense is always up. How do you fix that? Lead with curiosity. It's with your tonality. For example, if you want to get to know your prospect, you got to start off with a very curious tone. For example, hey, so give me a little background about what you're going on and why you're looking to get into this, right? Or like, hey, give me a little rundown. What do you got going on? Do you work? Do you have a business? What do you got going on, right? You're leading with curiosity. Number 2, come across as an expert. Now, the way that you come across an expert is that you're sharp, you're on time, the way that you ask your questions, the way you control the conversations.
And I'll give you guys a question that you guys can ask that will immediately, it's a very easy one that you can just take and apply. And it's just simply asking them, hey, have you done XYZ before? By you just simply ask them, have you done this before? Now they automatically look at you as an expert in your field. And if they say yes, they've done it before, awesome. Now we want to know why that didn't work out so that we can help them fix this problem this time around so that it doesn't happen again, right? So that's another one. Number 3, mission over commission mindset. What does that mean? Guys, this is probably one of the most important ones. I know you guys want to make money. I know you're watching this video because you want to make more money, you want to stack up more cash, but you have to put your prospect first. You have to think about it like you need to go on the call with the mindset that I'm going to go and change this person's life. And there might be objections, and that's okay, right? So mission over commission mindset. And if it's the other way around, if you guys are like just going after the money and you don't care about your prospect, they will know. Humans are exceptionally well at sniffing out attention. So it is in your best interest to have their best interest first. Last one is genuine vulnerability. Now, if you're talking to your prospect and they're not giving you much, right? They're not opening up about their goals and why they want to do something. What I like to do sometimes, and it works for me almost 9 times out of 10 is, hey, Mr. Prospect, the reason why I'm asking this is because personally, the reason why I got into business, the reason I got to any new adventure was because I wanted more out of life. I grew up with an absent father who was never there for me. So I had no father figure. I had no older brother. So I grew up insecure with no confidence and had to deal with it all my life. And that's why I decided to take control of my life and get my confidence back so that my kids don't have to deal with the same thing that I dealt with. And that's actually a true story. And that's why I don't mind being vulnerable enough to open up. Why did this work? I'm not going to go deep into this, but it's called power of reciprocity. When you share something with somebody, they will feel like they owe you something, right? So genuine vulnerability. Next up, lack of urgency. Let's talk about what urgency means. Okay, there's pressure and then there's urgency. Pressure is like external, like you have to buy now or the deal is going to vanish and never come back again, right? That's external. Doesn't really work, not that effective. Urgency is internal. It's like your subconscious mind telling you that you have to make a change now, okay? Now, let's talk about what you're probably hearing at the end of the call. Something like, hey, yeah, I'll do it next month, right? Or I'll just start next year. I'll start in the beginning after Christmas, right? Or, can we revisit this? I don't have time right now. That's what you're probably getting at the end. Now, how do you identify this? Pretty simple. It's when your prospect has like this casual tonality, like they're casual about the goals. Yeah, I don't know. I just want to make 10K a month, 100K a month. Yeah, I just want to get into e-commerce or real estate or trading, whatever, right? Number 2, lack of pain acknowledgement, right? They're not acknowledging that they have pain in their life. They're not telling you right off the bat. And the last one is inaction. The prospect haven't taken any previous action, right? They've been loafing. They've been just like, researching, not really taking any action. Those are identifiers that there's no real urgency. Now, I'll show you guys how do you increase urgency. How do you increase urgency? It's very simple. 3 ways. Number 1, you're going to have them sit on their pain points. Now I'm going to go in each one in depth. Have them sit on their pain points. Consequential-based questions, showing them the cost of not taking action. And the last one, and my favorite question to ask, why now? Now let's talk about this. Have them sit on the pain points. Most salespeople, when they ask their prospects, how do you like your job? How do you, do you actually enjoy it? And when the prospect responds with, yeah, it's okay, it just pays the bill. Oh, okay. The sales guy goes, oh, okay, awesome, and they just move on. A pro salesperson would be like, wait. What do you mean it's okay? Tell me a little bit more about what you mean by that, right? Or some prospect might say, oh, it's been one hell of a roller coaster ride. Most salespeople rather would be like, oh, haha, yeah, I know exactly what you mean, and move on. Goof! You need to pause and be like, hey, Mr. Prospect, what do you mean by a roller coaster, right? Dig deep. You want them to really internalize, like, why? What do you mean by roller coaster? Remind them of the pain that they're feeling. Remind them of why they need to make a change. Right? So they'll tell you, like, well, it's been crazy. It's been ups and downs, and I've been having to live paycheck to paycheck. I can't go out on dates anymore. I don't feel like a man, da-da-da-da. You can go even deeper and say, how's that actually been on you, man? Or woman, right? So that's having some on their pain points. Number 2, consequential-based questions. This is a beautiful strategy. You can use this anywhere in life. And it's very simple. Once you figure out what's been holding them back, for example, they haven't been making the time. This is what you say, 3-step process. Mr. Prospect, what happens a year from now if you don't make time for this? Prospect will say, well, I'll stay in the same position. Second question, are you okay with that? Possibly like, no. Last question. This one, guys, this one hits home. You're not okay with that? Why not? Now they start thinking about why wouldn't they not be okay with staying in the same position as they are right now, a year from now, 2 years from now. And the cost of not making a change is way more powerful motivator than their goals. Last one, why now? You can insert this anywhere in your sales conversation. One simple question. Hey, Mr. Prospect, you're telling me that you want to be able to make this change in your life and reach this goal and this goal. Pause. What was that moment that made you realize it's time to make a change now? Boom. You put your prospect in this action state where they have a fire lit up their ass and they're ready to make a change. Thank me later. All right, next one. Lack of belief. Now, there's 3 types of lack of belief, but it all boils down to them not believing themselves, right? So the 3 types of belief is they don't believe in themselves, they don't believe in the industry, which just means that they don't have clarity on how the industry works, and lack of belief in the company. But again, it all boils down to them. We'll get to that in a second. Now, what are you probably hearing at the end of that call if they have low belief levels? Very simple. All right, I just want to think about it. You know, I don't want to make a decision right now, right? Or they might say like, well, what's success rate? What's the success rate? Right? So those are some of the indicators, or that's what you're probably hearing at the end of a call, right? I just want to think about it. I don't know if this is going to work out for me, right? I don't want to make a decision on a call right now. You know, what's a success rate? Those are some of the things that you're probably hearing at the end when it's a lack of belief problem. Now, how do you identify these? How do I identify that there's a low belief level? Number 1, inaction, right? They haven't taken an action in months or years, right? You ask your prospect, hey, how long have you been, thinking about making a change? Your prospect might be like, well, it's been a couple years now. A couple years? And, well, I'll show you guys how to solve the next slide. I'm getting too excited here, right? Inaction, that's first identified. They haven't taken any action in years or months. Second one is a fear of failure, right? They're mentioning concerns of, I don't know if this is going to work out for me. Right? I'll show you guys how to solve this in a second. And last one is their language. If they're saying, well, yeah, if I reach those goals, or if I'm able to do this, or I hope I could do that, or maybe, right? If, I hope, maybe. If they're using that type of language, that's a sign of low belief level. Now, how do you solve this? How do you raise the belief level? Number 1, you address the inaction. How do you address inaction? It's very simple. Once we figure out that it's been months or years, and this is an uncomfortable conversation, it's a high-tension part of the conversation, you simply say, no, so it's been holding you back. Why haven't you taken action in the past 6 months? Maybe we'll say, well, I didn't have the right mentorship. I didn't do this. I got you. Okay, and what have you actually tried? And the more questions you ask, it will lead them to the conclusion without you even telling them that they are the culprit. They'll start putting it at themselves and say, well, actually, I haven't really done much. Number 2, providing clarity when you sense fear of failure. When you sense fear of failure, you don't need to go and be if they say, oh, I don't know if it's going to work out for me, and you don't even need to go and be a motivational speaker. Just what I would say, you can take these words and copy and paste them. I say this, hey, Mr. Prospect, I think, fear of failure comes from not knowing what you're doing, or not having clarity on the business model, or just not really trusting yourself to get things done. And when you mention these things, and you're like, he's actually right. And I would continue on and say, hey, if I give you a proven roadmap of what worked before with other people, do you think you'll be more confident? Or if I give you exactly what to do and there was no guesswork involved, would you be more motivated? All right? And sometimes people just need more clarity on the business model. Right? They're not sure what the business model works. So give clarity on the business model. Always ask them, have you done XYZ before? Do you know how this business model works? Number 3, self-solution selling. Take this and put it towards the end of your sales process before you pitch them. So you want to say this. You want to say, Mr. Prospect, what do you feel like you would need? What's a perfect support system? What support would you need if you had it in front of you? You would be confident that you would succeed. And they would go on to tell you exactly what they need. I want a one-on-one coaching, or want a blueprint. I want to be part of a community. Write these down. Blueprint, community, one-on-one coaching. Those are the words that they like to use. If they say blueprints, don't say I'm going to show you a roadmap. They want blueprints, right? So just put that in your presentation. If they say, I want to be part of a community, don't say I'm going to add you in a group. Say I'm going to add you in a community. So they look at this and be like, wow, this is exactly for me. That's how you raise belief level. So how do you actually implement this stuff? Track, track, track. I'm going to show you guys here on my screen. I have this closer tracking sheet that my best friend and business partner, Misha Perov, created that I've been using in my sales reviews all the time. And it has been a tremendous help in improving my sales skills as a whole. And it's very simple. So you come here, you put your date, your goal of the day, your calls booked, and in the beginning of the day, you put everything that you want to keep in mind to implement on the calls. Now, the first day is probably going to be empty because you haven't started this yet. So what I want you to do is you put the name of your prospect and then the reason why it didn't close. Name of prospect, the reason why he closed or didn't close. And then you'll start seeing a pattern, right? And then you realize, oh, I'm having issues with building trust. At the end of the day, you need to put your end of day positive, just, you showed expertise, and your end of day adjustments, right? Low trust, you need to tell more personal stories, you need to relate to the pain more, to build trust. And then you take these two and put them on your next date over here, beginning of the day, so you keep it in mind and apply it on your calls. And you keep on doing that, and you'll realize that you have a pattern of where you're struggling with the most, and you're able to take those lessons and apply it to the next sales calls. That's it for this video, guys. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next one. Ciao.